Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Nate Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Ginos, originator of the Zero G draft strategy. In this podcast, I'm going to talk about 8 players that are underrated performers in bangers leagues. Let's get it. All right, let's dig in to some underrated Bangers League beefers. This is coming about because we actually had an article about this in the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Guide, which is something that you can go to patreon.com/Apples and Ginos, Apples Ginos, all one word, and you can find it there. There will be a link in the description of this episode as well. But we had an article in there written by Ryan Brudner, R33, in the Discord, on Twitter. And he wrote an article all about some of these players. And I just think it's really interesting to think through some of these players who are just underrated in bangers formats, players that nobody really thinks about on draft day in bangers leagues. And then you look up at the end of the season, you're like, wait a second, this guy does way more banging than I was giving him credit for. So definitely check out that article in the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Guide. If you haven't gotten yours already, what are you doing? We've got a ton of stuff in there, 167 pages of goodness. So definitely go check that out and see if that's somewhere you want to set your foundation for your fantasy season this year. Without further ado, let's dig in. Player number 1, Jesper Bratt. Jesper Bratt has base projection for me of 24 goals, 90 points. The goals are not like insane here. The goals are not going to make you blush, let's say. But Jesper Bratt is a really underrated source of hits. I have him for over a hit per game, and I have him for 200 shots, so he's going to give you good numbers there. It's just really surprising when you stop to think about what Jesper Bratt is giving you in a bangers categories or any kind of bangers league that has a big weight on hits or anything like that. Also, the power play points are going to be pretty insane. I have Jesper Bratt projected for 37 power play points. He is super safe, locked in as the top power play right winger for the New Jersey Devils. If Jack Hughes can stay healthy for a whole season, that only serves to further increase Jesper Bratt's potential. I think that Jesper Bratt is A, super safe, and B, really good for a bangers league setup. Player number 2, Auston Matthews. Projection here is 50 goals, 100 points, where in seasons past I might have had Matthews projected for the 105 to 110 point level. This year, a little bit knocked down. Obviously, we all know Mitch Marner is no longer there. Probably lowers his ceiling just a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think that Auston Matthews drives offense all on his own, and we'll see that this year. Also have him projected for 70 hits and 100 blocks, which is absolutely elite stuff from a forward. So if you've got those categories in your bangers league, then you're going to be getting a whole bunch of extra value from Auston Matthews. We all know that he's going to get his on the power play. I have him projected for 31 power play points, but also he's probably going to be top 5 in the league in shots on goal. And realistically, you look across all of these categories and the power play points, which are still really good at 31 projected for me this year. That's his worst category that he's going to give you relative to other forwards. So Auston Matthews just an elite all-around bangers league player, and I don't think he gets that kind of love for just the overall profile that he's giving you, especially those blocks. Those blocks are absolutely insane. One of the best blocking forwards in the entire league. Sam Reinhart is next up. Base projection here, 37 goals, 83 points. Pretty solid stuff for Sam Reinhart, what you can expect there. But also 31 power play points, going to be around 220 shots. And he's also going to give you over a hit per game. I'm projected for 94 hits and 66 blocks, which is just really, really solid stuff. Once again, Sam Reinhart, an underrated source of the hits and blocks. Really tough to find that level of production in the second round. Like, you're getting all these, you get your Artemi Panarins in the second round, you get your Jason Robertsons in the second round, you get your Jack Eichels probably in the second round in a lot of places, you get your Kyle Connors. All these guys just don't provide a lot of peripheral value, and I think Sam Reinhart is going to fly under the radar, and you can pick him up a little later than you should be able to, and he's going to provide you a ton of Bangers League relevance. It's not like elite Bangers League numbers for sure. He's not going to hit as much as like Philip Forsberg or anything like that, but it's over a hit per game, and that all adds up, especially when you're banking point per game production on top of that. It's just so bankable with Sam Reinhart, so locked into his role there, added to his, his general trophy. I guess it's not a trophy case if you're a nominee, but he was a Selke nominee. So definitely Sam Reinhart is just one of the most valuable Panthers, and Matthew Tkachuk is going to be out, as we know, for the beginning of the season there. So that only means more time on ice for Sam Reinhart where I'm standing. Sam Reinhart, just so bankable of a player this year and underrated for Bangers Leagues. Seth Jarvis is the next up here. Projection for him is 35 goals, 71 points. Have him for over 100 hits. That's going to be nice. Have him for over 220 shots. That's going to be even nicer. Pretty solid block numbers for a forward. Have him for 55. Just really good all-around production from Seth Jarvis. This 71 points I have him for, that's only with 20 power play points. I think there's some room to grow there. Maybe Nikolai Ehlers adds a little bit of a dynamic that they didn't have before there in Carolina. Maybe he's the key to getting set up on that power play. It really seemed like he was a big contributor to Winnipeg's power play, taking a big step last year when he finally got on that top power play unit and stayed there. So maybe he can do the same for the Carolina Hurricanes. Maybe that means even more power play points are coming for Seth Jarvis, and he's providing even more category league coverage. So Seth Jarvis, just all around the profile here, especially for Bangers Leagues, where he's going to give you 100 plus hits. He's going to give you good block numbers for a forward. I think that's all really, really good stuff. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk for a second about Seth Jarvis's ADP on Yahoo. It's just utterly insane. I can never understand why this ADP is happening to Seth Jarvis. I don't know what he did to somebody at Yahoo. He must have had words with them at some point, but his ADP on Yahoo is 81. So I just can't believe that this is a player that you're able to pick up in the 7th round on Yahoo. That's absolutely insane. Probably he'll continue to rise throughout the course of the season. But if you're at a draft on Yahoo, if you're in a Bangers League draft on Yahoo, and you see Seth Jarvis available in the 7th round, A, why didn't you take him in the 6th? But B, go ahead and click that, because Seth Jarvis is money in the bank for a Bangers League in the 7th round on Yahoo. Right, if you are looking for a set of reliable skater projections for the year, then we've got you covered. applesandginos.com/skater-projections. And these projections I test. We have an episode about that every single year where I go back and I look at the per game numbers and compare them to other sources. Dom Lucian from The Athletic, Steve Laidlaw, Dauber, all these names I compare them to around the fantasy hockey spaces, all the other free projections that are out there. And so far I've been doing quite well with these projections. So I think they're worth your while, and they're free. So you can have them and do what you want with them. Basically, this is what you can look at. This is how you can begin to build your own draft list. You can set your league settings in here. Figure it out however you want to. We've got CATS adjustment sheets in there, courtesy of 18 Skaters as well. So whatever kind of league you're in, there is a sheet that you can adjust to make it work for you. And I think you'll be happy if you use them. We've gotten lots of good reviews from people winning their leagues with these projections from last year. And I think we're even better this time around. Also, there is still time if you have been hearing about the Apples Ginos Patron League, the APL, and you haven't signed up yet. There is still time to get signed up. We are very close to filling another league, and I believe that we will get that league filled. So if you're hearing this and you've been on the fence, you just need to join at the $2 a month tier or above and stay in that tier for the rest of the fantasy season, and you are eligible to play in the APL. If you go to applesandginos.com/APL, you'll be directed to an intake form. You fill that out and you are entered, and I'll contact you if and when we get that league filled. If you join after that league is filled and you still want to play, then we'll be putting you on a waiting list. And I'm sure at some point throughout the season, one team or another across the many leagues in the APL will go abandoned. Somebody will have something come up in their personal life and they'll want to pass their team off. And so we'll have those teams available for people on the waiting list. And that's a good way to just get your feet wet, no stakes, and get yourself into position to get even a better league setting for next year, whatever you're looking for in terms of the tiers and climbing and so forth. Get yourself in there, applesandginos.com/APL, link in the description as well. All right, next up, Dylan Holloway. Projection here, 29 goals, 63 points, pretty solid stuff, right? Nothing too crazy. But we saw him really come on at the end of last year. A lot of that was percentages, I'm going to say. Don't think that keeps up. But this is a guy who has real 200 shot, 200 hit potential. And those players just do not grow on trees. He should be valued much higher, in my opinion, in these banger leagues that you're playing in, especially on Yahoo, where his ADP is 100 on the dot. That is absolutely insane to me. That you can get a guy like this with this kind of banger league profile on Yahoo that late. I think he has potential to get even more on the power play. I think he will probably be on that quote-unquote top power play unit. They do run more of a 1A, 1B split in St. Louis, but I think he will be there with Rob Thomas. And so I'm projected right now, this 63 points only accounts for 14 power play points. I think there's more potential there, and so he could be even better. It's really about him being forgotten in ADP. I really thought that Dylan Holloway was going to be like one of these huge sleepers that everybody was talking about because of how good he ended last year, but it really seems like everybody's just kind of forgotten about him in drafts this year. To have him slipping to triple-digit ADPs on Yahoo, that's just a spot where I figured everybody would be all in on a player like this who had that late season run that he did, and it really doesn't seem like they are. So you can get a player at pick 100 who has this kind of 200 shot, 200 hit potential and is still going to score you 60 points while he's at it. You absolutely have to click that button there. That is a huge steal for your bangers leagues. Alex Tuch is next up. My projection for Tuch has him going for 32 goals and 67 points in total. And Alex Tuch just has absolute elite block numbers. I believe it was last year he set the blocks record for forward. This year I've projected for over 100 blocks once again. Also close to a hit per game, so he's not hurting you there. Also over 200 shots. Basically, the overall profile for Alex Tuch is exactly what you're looking for in a Bangers League player. He's going to give you blocks, he's going to give you hits, he's going to give you shots. All of those peripheral categories are exactly what Alex Tuch does best. That's with 13 power play points at getting him to 67 points in total. But if he is on the top power play all year long this year, which, feels like the logical decision, but it didn't happen last year, so we'll see. But if he gets the top power play all year long, I could see him getting even more and creeping over the 70-point mark to go with these incredible blocks numbers, to go with the 200-plus shots, to go with the almost hit per game numbers. Alex Tuch, an absolute monster in Bangers Cats leagues. Ryan Donato is a fun one here. I'm projected for a pretty healthy 27 goals and 60 points. I don't think a lot of people are going to be in on Donato. This is a guy who was kind of looking like a career fourth liner for much of his career, then gets the opportunity in Chicago and breaks out in a big way. The thing with Donato is he's always had really good shot rates, really good chance generation rates, but always in a low down role. And we're never quite sure if that would translate. There are some players who that kind of per minute production doesn't actually translate when they go up the lineup, and they struggle once they get placed with better players. They struggle to repeat that kind of chance generation against better competition and so on and so forth. But Ryan Donato really showed last year that he was able to put the puck in the net. He had some pretty unsustainable percentages, I will allow, but I do think that his role this year is just going to be significantly more than the role that he had on average last year, because he did start out last year in kind of that third, fourth line, bottom six role and really worked his way up to playing on the top line with Connor Bedard by the end of the season. If he gets power play one, if he gets top line with Connor Bedard, which is the way that it looks on paper right now as of early September as we're recording this, if that happens for him all year, then I think it's pretty easy that he can hit this 60 points, and he's going to provide you 225 plus shots. I have him booked for almost 125 hits here. Again, I think with power play one, with Connor Bedard at his side all year, I think this could be a really nice year for Ryan Donato. I don't think this is a superstar player by any stretch of the imagination, but this is a guy who does hold center, left wing, and right wing eligibility on Yahoo, and he's going to provide you really good hit numbers and really good shot numbers. So again, Bangers League, beefer, Ryan Donato, write down, book it. Let's get to biz. Last player here is going to be Chris Kreider. Chris Kreider was targeted by Anaheim, and I think that the projection I've got for him, 33 goals, 53 points, I think that feels pretty solid to me. I think Chris Kreider's best days are definitely behind him. I'm not saying that they aren't, but I think that this is a player that Anaheim really did intentionally acquire this offseason for the power play role, because he's so good at being that net front presence. And so I do expect that he's going to score a bunch of goals there. I do expect that he's going to have a bunch of shots there. I see worlds in which he's a really good complement to a guy like Troy Terry, who likes to play with the puck on his stick, and Chris Kreider can be at the end of those high danger passes that Troy Terry can deliver. I really think that that's a pairing that could work. If any of the Ducks' other forwards take a step, Carlson or Mason McTavish, if any of these guys take a big step this year, Leo Carlson, or is the name I was trying to say, Lucas Carlson is coming out of the back of the brain there. Leo Carlson or Mason McTavish take another step forward this year as a center, and Kreider can find some synergy there. I think there's multiple scenarios in which Chris Kreider is really good this year for that, and he's going to give you over 100 hits while he does it. I just think that, again, the cost is like nothing here. And so why are you shying away from Chris Kreider when his ADP is 170 on Yahoo? The cost is basically negligible to find out. And I think there's a good chance that he's a power play one, maybe even line one player for the duration of the season. And he's just an absolute stud that you got for basically nothing in your Bangers League. All right, folks, that is going to be all that we've got for this episode. So hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. And I want you to send all your thanks to Blake's brother, Matt Creamer, for the new music that we've got on the intro and outro. It's always worth a headbang, but that's going to be it, folks. Much love.